Good morning, Silver and Black Nation. Welcome to the Silver and Black Lair. I'm your host, the Bat Frie Friday. Finally, it's Friday. Love Fridays. When there's no work for the weekend. That's, when there's work for the weekend, it doesn't matter if Friday or not. Every day's a Monday then when you got to work weekends. So we got a comment here, and it's our boy, Mr. Adam Glenn. What's up, brother? Hope you're doing well. And this fine Friday morning. Fantastic. Dropping all the F-bombs here. Hey, I'll tell you what. Fridays are nice, coming off of a win. How about that? Nice win for whoop. I don't want to put that up there. My bad. A nice nice win for the Raiders this past Sunday night football, national audience, and the Raiders performed for the most part. Looking back in the game as a whole, actually, I just finished watching it yesterday. I've been watching little bits each day since working night shift. I can't watch the whole game live, and when it's national game, I can record it and watch it throughout the week. So that's what I did. But after watching the game, the first half could have been really, really bad, to be 100% honest with you. The Jets moved the ball up and down the field. Kudos to the Raiders defense for not allowing the Jets into the end zone. But also, you got to give it to the Jets, man. Shooting themselves in the foot time and time again. Thank you, New York Jets. To be 100% honest with you, it resembled a lot like Raiders of the past. Positive plays brought back because of dumb penalties, and it just seemed to recur again and again and again for the Jets. And there were legit penalties. It's not like that's a ticky-tack call or this or that. Just some unfortunate errors, mental mistakes, and just some bad luck when you think about it. Zach Wilson stepping out at the 3-yard line, where it looked like he had a touchdown easy. All you got to do is keep that foot in, and that's a touchdown. And who knows where the game is? They could have easily been up. They said it on the broadcast, I believe. They could have easily been up 21-3 easily. But the Raiders showed some resiliency, persevered, stuck to it, and were able to hold the Jets to all 3-pointers. So we're not used to that either. So. Richie, I'll say, hey, what's up, Richie? How you doing, buddy? Good morning. Adam says it was a bad Sunday night game. I'm not. See, I'll tell you what, Adam. It's like not a lot of scoring, but I'll tell you, I don't think it was a bad Sunday night game. It's like sometimes you watch a game where it's almost all field goals, and it's like, man, this is really hard to watch. I thought there were some big plays, there's some big hits, there's mistakes by both teams that kind of kept it a little bit interesting. Jets, over 300 yards of offense, so that's not boring, really. The Raiders close to 300 yards of offense. Garrett Wilson lighting it up, wide receiver for the New York Jets. Devontae Adams, getting him the ball a lot. And, watching Robert Spillane, Max Crosby coming around the edge. So there was a lot of excitement. Now, it's not like, watching, Eagles, Chiefs, or Dolphins, Chiefs, or says teams like that are going to put up a ton of points. But for what it was, for a 16-12 game, I didn't think it was that boring. I didn't think it was bad. It was just a lot of dumb mistakes by the Jets. They continuously shot themselves in the foot. I mean, like I said, there's games that you watch that are bad. It's like, man, this is, if you're watching like I don't know, Panthers versus another shit team, Cardinals or something. I don't know. Those are pretty hard to watch, and teams barely moving the ball. But I thought both teams moved the ball all right, and it didn't make it for overly exciting, but it was good enough. I don't think it was terrible viewing, but it was also this week was the anniversary of the Heidi game. I don't have the exacts on it. I wanted to write it down. I forgot all about it. But the Heidi game, if for those who don't know, I think it's 55 years ago this week. It was Raiders Jets. The Jets were up by a couple scores late in the game, and I think it was NBC. NBC decided to go to the movie, the primetime movie, which happened to be a showing of Heidi. Well, it turns out that the Raiders made a comeback, and I think it was like 2 minutes left. They're down by 2 or 3 scores, and just all sorts of craziness, onside kicks and stuff like that. And Raiders were able to come back and win. So I wish I would have remembered to write down a detail, because I wanted to talk about it a little bit more in depth, how just insane that game was. Because I remember I talked about it a little bit in I think it was middle school. I did a project on the Raiders, like a report, and talking about their history and stuff like that. And I've said it on here so many times about all the different named games that the Raiders have had. Like the Holy Roller against the Chargers, the Sea of Hands against the Dolphins, Goes to the Post, the Heidi game, the Immaculate Reception, or as us Raider fans like to call it, the Immaculate Deception. All sorts of the Tuck Rule game, or the Snowball game, whatever you want to call it. We call it the Tuck Rule game against the Patriots. So all sorts of named games. A lot of crazy things have happened in Raider games, and a lot of different rules have come out because of those games. Like the Holy Roller. Now an offensive team cannot fumble the ball forward. If an offensive player fumbles the ball and it rolls forward, and an offensive teammate recovers it, it goes back to where the ball was fumbled. Well, the Raiders used that rule to their advantage because there was no rule. I think it was Stabler was being sacked. Kind of, you watch the replay, kind of flipped it forward, and somebody else flipped it forward as well. I can't remember who it was, and I think it was Dave Casper ended up on the ball in the end zone, and that was the winning touchdown against the Chargers that year. So, and then the Tuck Rule, they altered that or changed that, or even just got rid of it altogether. I'm not sure, but I know it's been altered since the Tuck Rule game. So, making history. And also the Heidi game, now when a game's nationally televised, or I think even in the local market as well, I could be wrong, they stick with it right to the end, no matter what. Even if it's 35 nothing or whatever, they stick to it until the end. Then they go to the regularly scheduled programming. So that came from the Heidi game. So pretty neat stuff there. A little bit of history. So let's get to the game. Some of my thoughts about it. Aiden O'Connell, I thought he played very well. Rookie, third start, first time starting back-to-back games against a pretty good Jets defense. He was efficient, had one mistake to I think it was Jordan Whitehead, I think it was. Whitehead. Hate to pop him, but Jets lost. There you go. That was terrible. That was Whitehead, pop, get Pimple or whatever. Aiden O'Connell was efficient, some nice passes, nothing too crazy. He did throw deep a couple times, but I think that's just to keep the Jets defense honest from creeping up a little bit, because most of his passes were short passes, quick passes. Most of them were. There were a couple a little bit deeper, but mid-range, but nothing too deep. And but for the most part, pretty good. His pass to Michael Mayer for the only touchdown in the game was an absolutely beautiful pass. And I know if Jimmy Garoppolo was the freaking quarterback, he would have threw that right to the defender. I'm not sure who was defending. I want to say it was Whitehead, but I could be wrong. But he would have threw it right to him because he would have short armed it. Aiden O'Connell put it up in the air. Perfect spot for Mayer to go up. The bigger guy, he had, 6 or 7 inches on the defender, able to go up over him, catch the ball at the high point. It was beautiful. Beautiful game, or beautiful catch, beautiful throw. The interception, like I said, if I remember correctly, he went through his progressions, and then he kind of didn't really take a good enough look at Devontae. Like he kind of progression throw. He didn't really take the time to see what was developing behind him, because he was just being set up. Whitehead was just there waiting behind Devontae, and as soon as he threw it, he broke on it. As soon as Aiden O'Connell threw it, it broke on it. terrific speed by Whitehead. He broke on that really fast. Maybe a pass to the outside shoulder. Maybe that doesn't get picked, but, it is what it is. Josh Jacobs ran really hard first half, ran hard, but no results. I think it was like a 10 carries for 30 yards or something like that. Typical for the season so far. But second half, he was able to start breaking on a nice 40-yard run. It was starting to get more 5-yard runs, 6-yard runs, 4-yard runs, 7-yard runs, stuff like that. So that was good to see. Start building. He was able to get his first 100-yard rushing game of the season, 116 yards in total, I believe. But just the continuous, grind. Where's the defense down? No matter how good that defense is, just wears them down. But he did have a huge fumble there in the fourth quarter, which Raiders are in field goal range. That gave the Jets the ball back, I think, with 5 or 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Now, granted, they haven't been able to score a touchdown yet, but they've been able to move up and down the field a little bit. Second half, not as much as the first half, but you knew it was in them. They still had the playmakers there, Garrett Wilson and stuff, and Alan Lazard. So he fumbles the ball. Now, the replays, I couldn't really see it, but when I was listening to it through my earbuds, the Raider home announcers said they thought, I think it was Lincoln Kennedy thought he said he's seen his hip touch first, but it was so close that they couldn't overturn it. And that's, I guess that's the rule of thumb the referees are supposed to go by, is if you call it a fumble on the field and you can't find that definitive look where he was down, or yes, that's definitely a fumble, you have to go with the call that's on the field. So it was a fumble, so the Jets get it back. Now, like I said, like 5-6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And, Zach Wilson had to move in, man. And, it looked like, as a Raider fan, I already knew what happened, but I was watching it back, though, as a Raider fan watching, like, I don't know how they didn't score because they were just moving down pretty much at will. They get down there. Zach Wilson throws, I don't know who he threw to, if it was tight end maybe. I don't know who he threw it to. I don't know who the pass was for. But, man, Robert Spillane read his eyes. You can see it. You watch the replay. Wilson's going through his progressions. He looks, and you can see Robert Spillane, slowly starting to creep over as Zach Wilson's kind of eyeballing his receiver. And then as soon as he threw it, broke, and he had surgery on his hand 2 weeks ago, so he's playing with a cast on his hand. He's able to reach out fully extended, and catch that ball. It wasn't one of those catches where it's in his chest, you can kind of trap it. He had to fully extend his arms, and that's a straight up hand catch, and one of his hands are wrapped in a cast. So it was really impressive. And another big part of that is the 25-yard return, getting the Raiders out from the shadow of their own end zone there, closer to midfield. So that was pretty big as well. So you figure that's the end of the game, right? No, Raiders 3 and out. Jets had all 3 timeouts, and third down. Third and I want to say 3rd and 3 maybe. Raiders decide to pass it, which again wasn't a bad call. They brought this up on the broadcast. They feel like it was a busted route. They had 2 tight ends in the same exact place, and so I don't know if one's supposed to be deeper or one's supposed to be, because I'm not sure, but I think Aiden O'Connell rolled out that way a little bit, so it's almost like a flood route kind of concept, where you have everybody kind of going that same way as the quarterback's rolling. So I don't know if one of them were supposed to be deeper than the other, but they're kind of one on top of each other. Hooper was kind of, I think like 2 yards behind Mayer. So it was, it is what it is. But you get the win, so that stuff, you go back and you look and you correct it, and just happy it didn't cost them anything. We have Eileen checking in, Jets fan here. Eileen, boo Raiders, boo. No, boo Jets, boo Earns. I'll tell you, the last time that I think this was the last time the Jets Raiders played. The Jets beat the Raiders 34-3. Or was that the last time they played? I went to see them play a couple years ago with my aunt and stuff like that. My brother, my wife, uncle, up at MetLife Stadium, and the Jets just absolutely throttled the Raiders, 34-3. And it was, to be honest with you, it wasn't even that close. It was a bad. The Raiders were a team that was, on the cusp of playoffs, kind of. That a winning record halfway through the season. Where the Jets were kind of on the bottom half of the league. And just the 34-3 drubbing, ugh, it was cold. It was raining, very, very bad, very bad day. No, I shouldn't say that. It was a good day. I had a lot of fun with it. Drank a lot of beer. Got to wear my mask in public without people looking at me sideways. Oh, it's just a Raider fan. There we go. Adam says, "Boo Raiders, boo Eagles." Adam, boo Eagles. The Beagles. The offensive line, I thought, played all right. They kept as many rushes off Aiden O'Connell as they could. Again, the Jets, terrific defense. After watching them, I'll tell you what, I'm super impressed with Quincy and Quinton Williams. Those cats, man, unbelievable. Quinton Williams, just an absolute monster there in the middle of the defensive line. Quincy, really good linebacker, flying sideline to sideline so fast. He's able to anticipate and stuff like that. Where the gaps are going to be, and just shooting them so fast. Quinton Williams is so strong. Again, just busting. He was in the backfield quite a few times Sunday night. I think he had a sack. I could be wrong, but just multiple pressures and hits on Aiden O'Connell. He made himself a nice little home in the backfield, in the Raiders' backfield. And also a bunch of big tackles. It's the one part that the Raiders have struggled all season so far is the run blocking. Sometimes they look terrific in the run blocking. It's just one breakdown, and it goes to shit. It's unbelievable. Greg Van Routen, I thought he played well. He's been playing much, much better. At the beginning of the season, he was one of the lower-rated offensive linemen in the league. Now he's kind of near the top the last few weeks, so he's been playing much, much better. We didn't have Colton Miller, so that means Jermaine Ulemanor had to go from right to left, I think it is. Yeah, left tackle. He did all right. He got beat a couple times, got stood up a couple times, but for the most part, not bad. Thayer Mumford playing right tackle. He did all right. Again, same thing. We got beat a couple times, but for the most part, did okay. It's like a C grade. If you had to grade it, I would say a C minus. But just need to get better in that run blocking. Pass blocking, I think Greg Van Routen is one of the top-rated pass blockers in the league. So, so we have the pass blocking isn't terrible, but the run blocking is just, it's so inconsistent. And it looked much better in the second half, but there was still, you get it, Josh Jacobs would get it run 6 yards, 7 yards, make a move. He'd be patient, let the hole open. And then all of a sudden he's losing 3 yards. Again, as soon as he gets the ball in the backfield, guys are on him. It's really unbelievable, watching, this Raiders rush offense, how up and down it is, because there's times it just looks terrific. And there's just times it's just really, really bad. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand it because, for the most part, it's a lot of the same guys from last year. And I'd assume that it's pretty much the same concept as last season. I talked about this last week where I said that some of the one of the issues is that they're doing zone blocking and straight up run blocking. I guess that was an issue, but you figured they'd nix it and go with one now. So I don't know. Josh Jacobs is now feeding into the coaching staff as to what kind of runs that he wants to do. So you kind of think, more success, which, he's had, last week, 98 yards, and this week finally getting over 100 yards for the season, 116. So it is leading to a little bit more success, but there's still times that it's just really, really inept, really, really bad. So moving on to the defense. Defense held an opponent without a touchdown, which I didn't think I'd be able to say that at all, ever, as a Raider fan. You got Rich here with a comment. Upsets of the week. Raiders over Dolphins 34-31. Panthers over Cowboys 27-23. Oh boy, I hope you're right there, Rich, but I don't know. I have my serious doubts about the Raiders over Dolphins and the Panthers over Cowboys. But yeah, anything could happen. They're all professionals. They're all there for a reason. Best of the best. I just have a hard time seeing the Raiders put 34 points up. Especially they've only put up over 20 points offensively one game this season. So, and that was last week, the week before against the Giants. Eileen, you're not wrong. Your Jets held themselves without a touch. You're not wrong, but the Raiders did have a little bit of hand in some of it. But for the most part, like I said in the top of the show, I don't know if you were watching yet, but the Jets just continuously shot themselves in the foot with stupid ass penalty. Like I said, as a Raider fan, that's what I expected as a Raider fan. That's what the Raiders have been doing since 2003. Nice play, get close to the end zone, and before you know it, it's 3rd and 34, 3rd and 41. It's stupid penalties, dumb mistakes, sacks, fumbles, stuff like that. And the Jets, over time and time again, So first half, the Jets moved the ball really well. Second half, I thought the Raiders did much, much better in limiting the Jets, kind of hold them, stifle them a little bit more. But again, they after that Josh Jacobs fumble, they had their chance. They drove it down the field. I don't remember how far they got down, like 30, 25, 30-yard line when they threw that interception. But, it's just over and over again. There he is. The mayor of Las Vegas, Vegas Rob. What's up, brother? Hashtag just win, baby is correct. Adam, is Rich your cousin? Rich is my cousin. It's cousin Rich Youst. Yep. At least you beat the goddamn Jets. We lost to that's the Eagles, lost to the goddamn Jets. Which, going back, so as much as the Jets have struggled on offense, I went back before when I did my show last week. I was looking at their last few games, and they put some points up, but like stat wise, I'm like where the hell are these points coming from? Is it the defense? Is it the offense? Like, are they kicking like 50 field goals a game? Because I wasn't really seeing the stats for it, but they were. I don't know if I still have it or not. Let me go back in my old notes. I try to keep my notes all the time here. Yeah, was this it? No, this was the Giants. So yeah, I don't have the Jets on hand right now. I'm not gonna flip through my notes that I'm using right now because I'm gonna lose my place, and I'm just sitting here looking at, oh, where's my place at? He's like, what the hell's he doing now with the notebook? What's he doing? Looking for notes, so I'm not gonna do that. The interior of our defensive line, I thought, played really well. They did well against the run. Adam Butler, Bilal Nichols. Who else is there? Crap. Jerry Tillery. Jenkins. Adam Jenkins. So yeah. The interior defensive line, fantastic. Maxio got some pressures. Malcolm Kuntz got some pressure on the outside. But I thought our interior defensive line, I thought that was the best game that they had all season, especially between Butler and Jenkins. Adam said the Eagles' only loss. The Jets' defense is really good, especially their pass defense. Their offensive line sucks. Yeah, I think that's their biggest weakness. So yeah, Rich, I agree. If I'm the Jets, my biggest focus next year is correcting that offensive line. I didn't think Zach Wilson played all that bad, to be honest with you. Again, the Raiders, Jets didn't score a touchdown. They only gave up 6 points to the Giants the week before. But these are two teams that don't put up a lot of points to begin with, so you can't really go say the Raiders' defense is awesome. The Raiders' defense is much improved. Patrick Graham has them playing pretty decent right now. But the Raiders' defense is much improved than what it has been the last few years. But the Jets, with their defense being as good as it is, Zach Wilson, I thought he played all right. That offensive line just, not very good. And so I was thinking, what if Aaron Rodgers was playing? Would that have been a different game? And it might have been. I'd think that Rodgers would probably get, a touchdown or two in there. But then again, I'm like, there's a reason why Aaron Rodgers only lasted 3 plays, because the first 3 plays of the season, he got hit on all 3 of those plays, or had a scramble on all 3 of those plays. So it's like, would he even make it to, if he did make it past week 1, would he even make it to week, 8, 9, 10, whatever it is? I'm not so sure about it. But moving forward, if I'm the Jets, I focus heavily on my my offensive line next season. I mean, this season's not a wash yet. I mean, they're 4-5 now. Still plenty of time to win a couple games. And Aaron Rodgers said he's shooting for a mid-December return from a freaking torn Achilles. I don't know what kind of voodoo magic he got going on, but he's got something going on there. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, if they get Aaron Rodgers back, who knows? Who knows? What could happen? Again, like I said, it's not all on Zach Wilson, because I thought he didn't play all that bad. One mistake happened to be in a huge part of the game. Stepping out of bounds part, that's, I don't want to call that a mistake. It's just unfortunate. He's trying to make a play, and I don't know. But I don't know if he's going to be your franchise quarterback moving forward or not. Foster Covers checking in. What's up, Foster Covers? Thanks for checking the show out. Much appreciated. He says, I'm much better than when I saw him play the Bears in Chicago. Oh, my God, dude. So I've only ever been to one Raider game, so I kind of understand what you're talking about. Because when I just talked about this a couple minutes ago, when I went to see the Raiders play, it was a few years ago. It was 34-3 up at MetLife Stadium against the Jets. So I kind of understand where you're coming from, but that Bears game was just straight up awful. Bears Lions, that back-to-back games like that, which the final nails in the Josh McDaniels coffin. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise. We were able to get rid of Josh McDaniels due to that Bears game and that Lions game. But they were some bad games. It was just straight up awful. It's actually at my daughter's softball games, and I was I was watching on my phone as much as I could, while still paying attention to the games. Like, this is disgusting. It was, Hoyer out there just doing Hoyer things, I guess. And it was just, defense didn't look all that great. It ran all over us. Yeah, that Chicago game was really bad. Offense, defense, everything. Special teams, I think Carlson missed a field goal that game. Adam Glenn says, the mayor's still on. Mayor, are you still on? Hefner, are you still? Adam wants to know if you're still on. He probably wants to talk shit or challenge you to a fight or something. Rich Yao says, exactly, I don't care for Zach, but most of the game he has had no blocking. The Raiders will be fine, and their defense has gotten better. Defense has gotten much better. And I said this last season with Derek Carr. I said, if we can just get our defense to like a mid-20s to low-20s ranked type defense, where instead of giving up 27 points a game, we're giving up 22 points a game. I feel like the Raiders could win a lot of games. Unfortunately, Derek Carr is not with us anymore. He's in New Orleans, and we could thank Josh McDaniels for that. And I have high hopes for Aiden O'Connell. From everything I see, I feel like he's progressing. He's not looking terrible. He does make some rookie mistakes, and it is what it is. There are growing pains, but I like what I've seen so far from Aiden O'Connell. So, but if we had Derek Carr this year, would things be different? I don't know. He's not exactly lighting the world on fire in New Orleans, but then again, I don't think he's playing terrible. I think he's playing a little bit more efficient, not turning the ball over as much as he did last season. But if and buts were candy and nuts, whatever the hell that means, I don't know. Build inside out, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Everything starts up front, Rich. With football, everything starts up front. Offensive line, defensive line, everything starts up front. If you don't have a good offensive line, it doesn't matter what kind of quarterback you have out there. He's gonna get destroyed. If you don't have a good defensive line, Doesn't matter what kind of secondary you have. You're going to get run all over. It's just you're going to get dominated. So, Rogers took the great the great old bath salts of Schuylkill County. It heals you quick. The healing powers of bath salts from Schuylkill County. There we go. Oh Lord. Foster Covers checking in again. It's funny. Funny note: Hoyer holds Bears record for 4 consecutive games. That's insane. Over 300 yards passing. We didn't get that Hoyer. I'll tell you that. That Hoyer's long gone. Holy cripes! That's absolutely insane. I didn't know that. Hey, what's up, Paul Spencer? How you doing, brother? Thanks for checking the show out, Paul. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Adam says, yes to care. I don't know where that's from. Yes to care. Eileen says, he's injured to right. He's injured to right. I don't know what that means. Elaborate, Eileen. Foster says, get the trenches done. Bears going backwards. Yeah. So I wonder if the Bears are going to keep their quarterback. What's his name? You know who I'm talking about. I can't think of his name. I can picture him. I can't think of his name. Justin Fields. I wonder if the Bears are going to keep Justin Fields or trade him away. That's kind of curious to me. I mean, the lad that they have starting from right now from the Division 2-3 college, whatever it is, I don't think he's their franchise quarterback. But if they get a really high draft pick, you have to figure if they get a really high draft pick, will they be in the run for that USC quarterback? I don't know if that's the route they'll go, or if they'll say, you know what, let's stick with Justin Fields, or do you trade him and see what you can get for him? I don't know. Charter franchise, and he has that record. Freaking Hoyer getting all sorts of records. Carr. Okay, so you're saying Derek Carr's injured. Yeah, what that Jameis Winston came in, I guess had 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions this past weekend. So I didn't hear anything on Derek Carr, if it's bad or not. I'm not even sure what he injured. I'm not sure. And Carr's been injured a couple times this season. I wonder if the offensive line in New Orleans is kind of janky as well. Foster says 7 games to see who Fields is. Yeah. And that's basically what the Bears have to do, to kind of get things righted a little bit. Because, I tell you what, the Bears, a historic franchise, a huge fan base, but they haven't been really relevant, in quite a few years now, it seems like. Not since, Kyle Orton or what's his name? From the when they traded Orton to the Broncos, Broncos sent Smoking Joe there. I can't think of his name right now. I guess they haven't really been relevant since then. Unless I'm not thinking, correct. But I'll tell you, I loved watching the Bears back with Urlacher and stuff like that. The terrific teams there. Going to the Super Bowl, losing to the Colts, Peyton Manning's first Super Bowl win. Richie says a lot of Eagles fans get mad at Howie because he drafts for the trenches and not the superstar receivers or backs. But the funny thing is, Howie is right. Look at our O-line and D-line. There isn't too many things that Howie hasn't touched that hasn't turned to gold. Carr has an injured shoulder and concussion protocol. Yeah, so he's getting knocked around a little bit. Jay Cutler, yes, thank you. I could picture Jay Cutler. I guess he was diabetic as well. I remember a lot about Jay Cutler. He played in Miami a little bit, but that's what Josh McDaniels does. Josh McDaniels goes to a franchise, dumpster franchise quarterback who, Cutler was playing well for the Broncos, if I remember correctly back then. As a Raider fan, I kind of do. The Broncos weren't all that bad. The Raiders were. But, As soon as McDaniels gets there, he and the Cutler don't get along, so he trades Cutler away for Kyle Orton. I don't know. The Bears have been crap since 2007. Paul says, I can see Bears trading Fields. Bears hold number 2 and 4 right now. They hold the Panthers pick, so there is a possibility they go get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison. Can you imagine that? Man, what a win for the Bears that would be. But still, if you can't block, I mean, that doesn't really matter. But the one thing about offensive lines, especially offensive lines, you can really build an offensive line late in the draft and through free agency. A very not a great offensive line, but usually you can build a competent offensive line. Through late in the draft and through free agency. It's because sometimes it's all about gelling and about consistency. If you have guys in and out of the lineup, offensive linemen getting hurt constantly, the offensive line doesn't gel, they don't flow, and they could be good, but it just doesn't matter then. If there's no consistency, no continuity there. Richie says McDaniels is trash. Yes, he is. And Foster says, actually, we hold 1 and 5, but Giants will tank out. Do you think the Giants will draft a quarterback there? Foster covers after they signed Danny Dimes to that big contract. It's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen there. Rick said, I'd say the Bears build the O-line and Fields can be another Hurts. Caleb Williams will be a bust. Mayo is the best quarterback in the draft. Or not Mayo, May. But what about the Knicks? They're up there in Oregon. Is he any good, you think? I watched him a little bit. Our starting is going to play their first game together Sunday in Detroit. Wow. Over halfway through the season. Giants will take May. And no, he isn't. So Bo Nix is not any good. All right. Well, maybe he can find some more eligibility to stay in college for a couple more years. I know this is like, his 6th year in college or something like that. It's been he's been playing for a while. So yeah, back to the Raiders game real quick. Raiders against Jets before I wrap that up and move on to Miami. Robert Spillane, like I said, another great game. He's been coming up so big the last couple of weeks for the Raiders. He's actually the AFC Player of the Week this week. 7 tackles, 4 solo interceptions, sack. Absolutely phenomenal game. He was all over the place, Robert Spillane, and bringing a lot of energy. He's a fireball. I mean, we already have a ball of energy in Max Crosby, but to get another ball of energy, awesome. Super excited for Spillane. Hopefully, we can get him signed to something a little bit more long term. So I think he's going to be here to stay. Defensive backs, it still kind of irks me a little bit that they gave up so much cushion, especially Marcus Peters, Jacorian Bennett as well. Jacorian Bennett was in because Amik Robertson got his ass knocked out there in the I think it was the first quarter, maybe first or second quarter. So everybody watching, so what are your thoughts on players trying to hurdle a player and then not quite make it? Do you think that's something the NFL should look at? Because I know last night there was a big injury. Mark Andrews for the Baltimore Ravens was injured with what do they call that? A hip tackle or behind the leg tackle or something. So basically, a guy tackled Mark Andrews and then dropped behind his ankles to pull him down, and basically hurt Mark Andrews. They probably messed his ankle or his knee up pretty bad, the way it sounds. So there's talks about having that being banned in the league or penalized. I guess it would be just like a horse collar. You can't really ban a tackle because they're going to tackle. You just penalize them for it and fine them. But so hurdling over players, do you think that should be banned or looked at a little bit further by the NFL competition committee? because I mean, when it works, it's an amazing play. You're just seeing these athletes jump over another athlete, and it's awesome. But time and time again, you see where it doesn't work. Like, for instance, I always call back to I think it was Antonio Brown when he was with the Steelers, giving a karate kick to a Cleveland Browns player, trying to hurdle him, but didn't quite get up high enough, and instead the Cleveland Browns player ends up with a cleat in his chest or his face or whatever. So occasionally you see where the guy doesn't make it over. And so that's what happened to Amik Robertson, who's having a pretty decent year this season, having a pretty decent season this year, and just going to make a tackle. The receiver, I'm not sure who it was, tries to hurdle him, doesn't make it over, and he gets a knee right to the side of the head and knocks him out cold. He was it's like a UFC fight, pop. He was out, done, rest of the game. So I want to know your thoughts on that. If it should be outlawed or penalized or whatever. So yeah, the defensive back's given a lot of cushion. It absolutely drives me insane. Zach Wilson, really took advantage of that with receiver Wilson. The Wilson and Wilson gang. Garrett Wilson just had himself a hell of a game. 9 catches, 90-some yards, I think it was. He's really good receiver. There was the one play that Zach Wilson threw it to him deep when the Jacorian Bennett went out hurt as well. And so that Nate Hobbs had to move to the outside of cornerback, and they threw against him right away. But Nate Hobbs had pretty good coverage, and I think Zach Wilson short-armed it just a little bit. I think it was a little bit deeper. I think there was over-the-top help as well, if I remember correctly. So maybe Zach Wilson put it in the right spot, but it was well covered, pretty much, is what I'm saying. Let's see here. Rich says that Bo Nix has played 5 years at Auburn and Oregon. Yeah, he can get himself another couple of years out of this somehow. Paul Spencer says Jaden Daniels is the sleeper quarterback. Bears need Joe Alt from Notre Dame, offensive tackle. Do you think they take an offensive tackle early with one of those early picks, or is it going to be quarterback and Marvin Harrison? So, I want to see the Bears be good. I like when the Bears are. I like when the whole division is good because it's such a nostalgic division. Between the Bears, Vikings, Packers, Lions, a lot of history behind those teams, and it's a lot of fun when they're all good and competitive with each other. Richie says, "Oh, Mr. Wilson." Foster says, "Good thing Jets score a touchdown about every 6 quarters or so." Well, it's been coming into that game. They had 1 touchdown in 8 games. I mean, so that's rough. They had 8 touchdowns. I'm sorry, 8 touchdowns in 8 games. That's what it was. Not 1 touchdown. They had 1 touchdown. They had 8 touchdowns in 8 games. And what the hell was it? I think it was. I don't remember the stat from last week that I read off, but it was like they haven't scored a touchdown in 3 games or something like that, or 1 touchdown in 3 games. But yeah, that 8 touchdowns in 8 games, which is so. And that's one of the things that. So as a Raider fan, you're excited to see the Raiders win a couple games. Yeah, I am very much so. They're playing much better, playing with a little bit more enthusiasm. But the last 2 games since McDaniel's been fired has been against the Giants and the Jets. And, Giants, again, playoff team last year. Jets, looking to take that next step, this year. But unfortunately, things just have not gone their way with the injury and the offensive line not playing as well as it has been, but still in playoff contention. But neither of these teams are offensive juggernauts. So Giants, Daniel Jones gets hurt early in the game. And they can't do anything on offense. Saquon Barkley is able to run the ball, but the Raiders, again, keep them out of the end zone until late in the game. And the Jets, the Jets were able to move the ball up and down the field, especially the first half. But again, they shoot themselves in the foot with dumb penalties and, mistakes like that. And the Raiders defense eventually does kind of stiffen up and, hold them to field goals. and the and then you have to look, like, okay, those 2 wins, or the Raider Nation's reinvigorated, but now you look what's ahead. And so now this week, in my opinion, is the true test. And now even if it's a loss, there is good losses. If the Raiders go out there, they lose, 27-20, or something competitive where they're in the game, they're close, defense is making stops, offense is making plays. You can live with a loss like that. Especially when your season was going so poorly to begin with, all the turnaround, all the changes that has gone on, you can live with a loss like that. But if it comes out that it's 49-7, or they put up a 70 spot like they did against the Broncos, well, then we got a problem. These kind of the Jets Giants games are kind of like a mirage or a fluke. Then does the team revert back to where it was before that? With McDaniels, I don't know. But I do like the way the team has been playing. I do like the culture that AP has kind of instilled into the team so far. But we'll see what happens this week. Eileen, the game was over in the third quarter once they didn't score on that touchdown where Zach Wilson stepped out. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but they had plenty of opportunity after that. So like, he threw that interception, after the Josh Jacobs fumble, because the Raiders kick a field goal there and they're up by 7. They're in field goal range. Jacobs fumbles it. They drive it right down the field. He throws that interception to Robert Spillane. He takes it 25 yards up. The Raiders go 3 and out. Then a nice pump by A.J. Cole to I think it was a touchback, but still just to get it to the opposite end of the field, because they did have a heat on him. I was hoping they'd call running into the kicker penalty there, but they didn't, because he did go down. And but the Jets had another chance after that. They were moving the ball up. They had 50 seconds and a timeout, I think it was, or something like that. They did move the ball up the field. They got it close enough where they could throw a Hail Mary. And, as a Raider fan, asshole puckered, heart stopped. That ball was up there. And if you look at the replay, it looked like Garrett Wilson had it. His hands are right there. Then you see the tight end. I don't know if it was Conklin or who it was, but his hand kind of comes up and deflects it. So I was like, thank God the Jets are playing against each other. Great defensive move by the Jets tight end there to knock it out of Wilson's hand. So, but it did look like that Wilson might have had a chance to come down with that, if not for his teammate's hand coming up there and getting in the way. Foster says MHJ and defensive end pass rush. I'm not sure what MHJ is, unless that's like a middle linebacker, MLB maybe. I don't know. He's laughing. Went like 9 quarters without a touch. That's insane. And like, they move the ball. That's what I don't understand. Like when I was watching it, the ineptitude, they move the ball. You just can't put it in the end zone. Paul says, I'd go Joe Alt and Daniels. He's a Fields 2.0. But this kid has an arm. Last week he threw for 300 yards and ran for 285 in the stadium. Jesus Christ. Who are they playing? The Helen Keller School of the Blind or what? Rich says, bend but don't break. I mean, that's all well and good, as long as you continuously, but that means your team's out there for a long time. Your defense is out there for a long time because you're bending. Then you stop and you don't break. Well, that leads to, 8-play drive, 9-play drive, 10-play drive. The defense tires out real quick. Poles might trade that number 1 or 2 for a haul and get a quarterback in 25 or 26 when Manning comes out. Has he played? Did he play for Texas at all this year, or was he like redshirted or something? I don't know. I don't remember hearing his name much. Paul says he led the NCAA 3,074 yards, 30 touchdowns, 4 picks, plus 900 plus on the ground with 8 touchdowns. Jesus Christ! In the SEC, Pretty good, better number than Joe Burrows when he won the Heisman. Christ, that's some pretty insane numbers there. Foster says, "I like it, Paul." Richie says, "I mean, look at the Eagles. We give up 400 passing yards a game, and we are still 8-1. Bend but don't break defense seems to be the big thing in the NFL." Yeah. Well, so offenses are it's so geared to so much geared towards offense. The NFL is, that they have rules. It seems like the penalties and the rules benefit the offense more than does the defense. So they want all these like big plays and stuff. But when it gets down to the red zone, that shortens the field up. It's much harder to score in the red zone, which I think the Jets were near the bottom in red zone scoring, and so that's where your defense, your bend but don't break defense. How well can they protect in the red zone? How well can they stiffen up in the red zone? Because once you shorten a field like that, because when you're at the 50, the 40, 30 or whatever, you have that whole field you're still playing with. But now 20, 15, 10, everything's really tight and closing. You have a lot of people in a small area. There's no stretching anybody out. I feel like an idiot. Yeah. Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking at those comments here. I'm like, oh, that's right. Marvin Harrison Jr. MHJ. I'm sorry. He's a terrific wide receiver. He really is. Yeah, those numbers that Paul put up there are pretty crazy. Yeah, defense definitely at a disadvantage, 100%. Whether it's the pass interference calls or the roughing the quarterback calls, stuff like that. So real quick, I'm going to run down the numbers for the Jets game before I head to Miami. Aiden O'Connell, 16 of 27, 153 yards, one touchdown, that one interception. Okay, nothing terrible. For the most part, he took care of the ball, didn't fumble at all. So, got to get rid of that interception, but for the most part, efficient. Josh Jacobs, 27 carries, 116 yards, along of 40 yards. We'll take that any day of the week from Josh, almost, kind of like last season. Devontae Adams, 6 catches, 86 yards, 13 targets. I think he had like 10, 11 targets in the first half. I could be wrong, but they were really forcing him the ball early in that game. Jacoby Myers, 2 catches, 21 yards. Michael Mayer, 3 catches, 19 yards, his first NFL touchdown. And Hunter Renfrow was only targeted once. He had 1 catch for 5 yards. I think went for a first down, or at least it was pretty close anyway. I still want to see them get the ball to Renfrow. I want to see more Trey Tucker. Maybe this game come up against Miami, which, if the Raiders do get behind, you're ending up passing a lot. Maybe we'll get to see Trey Tucker. He has big playability, great speed, very shifty. So going to the defense, Mad Max, 3 tackles, 2 quarterback hits. He had quite a few pressures. A couple of close calls there. Last play of the game, that Hail Mary pass all over Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson gave one of these, jukes or whatever, kind of threw Max off on his pursuit of a sack to end the game. Robert Spillane, like I said, the AFC Player of the Week, 7 tackles, 4 solo tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception. Kuntz, Malcolm Kuntz, 2 tackles, 2 quarterback hits, 1 sack. Devon Diablo had himself a pretty good game. It was good to see him back and contributing. 7 tackles, 4 solo tackles. And like I said, Bilal Nichols, Jerry Tillery, Butler, Jenkins. I thought our defensive tackles played great. I thought they played really, really well. Looking at the Jets numbers, Zach Wilson, 23 of 39. Again, I thought he had a pretty decent game. 263 yards, 1 interception, 4 rushes for 54 yards. Breece Hall, 13 carries, 28 yards. For the most part, the Raiders held him in check. Dalvin Cook, 4 carries, 26 yards. For a total of 21 carries, 108 yards between Zach Wilson, Hall, and Cook. Yeah, but Zach Wilson had half their yards rushing. So kind of surprising, but he took advantage of the rush, and the Raiders playing man to man. Garrett Wilson, 9 catches, 93 yards. Tyler Conklin, 7 catches, 70 yards. Breece Hall, 3 catches, 47 yards. Quincy and Quinton Williams, just fantastic. Quincy Williams, 7 tackles. Quinton Williams, a half a sack, 3 quarterback hits, and he was just all over the place. The dude was in the backfield so often, disrupting stuff. Really good job. Overall, the Jets had 3 sacks, 1 interception. The interception by Jordan Whitehead. So now we move on. Hit a couple more comments here. Rich says Manning has not played. I didn't think so. I remember hearing his name at all, so I would have made the news rounds, the news cycles. There are rumors he is going to transfer portal, but then he said he likes the choice he made. Well, he got plenty of time. That was his freshman year, correct? Paul says those numbers were against Florida Gators last week. I think Manning will be a bust under Steve Sarkisian, head coach at Texas. He's a bad head coach. He needs to transfer. He will sit behind Ewers. Is it Ewers or Evers? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. Rich says one more score before I got to get going. Eagles 38, Chiefs 20. I like that score. Have a great day. You too, buddy. Thanks for checking the show out, Rich. You can check all of our shows out. I seen you commenting last night on the NFC East War Room chat. You check all of our shows out. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. We're also on TikTok and Instagram. Like, follow, subscribe. Much appreciated. All right, so moving on to Miami. It's going to be a hell of a test. Miami's sitting at 6-3. ESPN Analytics right now has Miami at a 90.5% chance to win. So basically, the Raiders, according to ESPN Analytics, have no chance. No chance in hell, as Vince McMahon said. High-powered offense, quick scoring capabilities. They also have the capabilities to grind out a drive. Terrific run game. They're healthy coming off a bye week. All recipes for disaster for the Raiders, but that's why they play the games. The Raiders don't play well in Miami to begin with. I can't tell you the last time they have actually won there. So, but Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, amazing. The running backs Mostert and Chichi. I don't know if that's how you say it. That's how I'm going to say it because it's my show. The Raiders, that they can't go out there and they can't try to score with Miami. They have to be able to slow the game down, run the clock, and force Miami to run the clock as well. Force Miami to take long drives. Make them run the clock. The one thing, you don't want to get into a scoring fest. If you get into a scoring fest where Miami goes out there, 3-play drive, 75 yards, touchdown, 6-play drive, 70, 80 yards, touchdown, can't have it. If they're going to drive on you, make them earn it. Make them work for it. Make it a 10, 12-play drive where it eats clock. It shortens the game that way. Obviously, you don't want to be giving up touchdowns, but if you can hold them to field goals on 12-play, 13-play drives, then so be it. Because the one thing the Raiders' defense is they're not very good on third down. Usually they're stuck out there on long drives like that. But like we were talking about before, they don't give up. They bend, but they don't break. They give up a lot of field goals. They hold teams out of the end zone for the most part. And so if they're able to make the Dolphins earn it, and if they're able to, the Raiders are able to run the ball more, short passing game, if they're able to grind out long drives as well, shorten the game. I think that could go in a long way as to keep the game close, to keep the game competitive, and give the Raiders a chance near the end of the game. If they're within a score, in the fourth quarter, halfway through the fourth or whatever, that's where you want to be. If they're within a score or maybe even ahead, which I don't see happening. But that's where you want to be in a game like that. Tire that team out, grind them down, make them grind, and see what happens. They're supposed to win. All the pressure's on them. There's no pressure on us. We have an interim coach, we have an interim general manager, we have a rookie quarterback. There's no pressure on us. All the pressure's on them, and let's make them feel it. The Raiders have to make them feel that pressure. So I think one of the big points is your time of possession and the running game. Get Hunter Renfrow the ball, get Trey Tucker the ball short. Run Trey Tucker. That's one of the things they like doing. Real quick on that Jets game, one of the plays I thought was absolutely fantastic. I don't know if I think it was a 4th and 1. 4th and 1, Raiders go for it. I think it was on the other side of the 50. I think it was on their side of the 50. I could be wrong though. And they lined up where it looked like it was going to be a quarterback sneak or a tush push or brotherly shove, whatever the hell you want to call it. But they ran a really nice sweep with Josh Jacobs. I think it was Josh Jacobs. Everybody's entitled. I tell you what, it was a bang play. Even as like the slightest misstep, that's a fumble or Aiden O'Connell's going down. But snap give, just he was around the corner, in no time, easy first down, nice play. I really like that. I really like that option off of that set. Everybody's expecting the quarterback sneak up the middle, on 4th and short, and to able to take it outside like that with some speed was absolutely awesome. So hopefully they have some more things, some more tricks up their sleeves like that. Some pretty neat stuff. They got to put pressure on Tua as well. They must, Max Crosby, Malcolm Koonce, Tyree Wilson. The middle of the defense, especially. I think if the middle of our defense can put pressure on Tua, when the Dolphins are passing, I think the Raiders have a really good shot because that's going to force him outside into Max Crosby or Malcolm Koonce, and those guys just don't quit. So they're already coming off the edge, but it's going to be all about pressure. And in order to do that, they have to be able to stop the run game. Because if the Dolphins are running the ball at will, if they're just getting churning chunks of yards off on runs, then it's hard to rush the passer because you're playing the run first because you're getting killed in it. Well, then they're passing or play action passing, and it freezes you. So you have to be able to stop the run first, then get that pressure on Tua. We all know his injury history. I'm not saying go out and hurt the guy. I don't want to see him hurt. I have a bunch of family that are huge Miami fans, Dolphin fans. So I don't want to see Tua hurt. I don't want to see the Miami Dolphins season ruined, but I want to see the Raiders win. So it doesn't matter what it looks like. It says it right there on your screen. Just win, baby, by any means necessary. So let's take a look at the tail of the tape. So for the Raiders, they have Aiden O'Connell, a quarterback. So far this season, 66 completions, 104 attempts, 675 yards. That's averaging out to 168 yards per game, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. Tua having himself a pretty decent season, 214 completions, 308 attempts, 2,609 yards passing. That's averaging out to 290 yards passing per game, 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. On the ground, Josh Jacobs, 186 carries, 622 yards, averaging 3.3 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns, averaging out to 62 yards per game. Also 30 catches for 253 yards. That's pretty good there. Raheem Mostert, 109 rushes, 605 yards, 5.6 yards per carry, 11 touchdowns, 67.2 yards per game. And he's caught the ball 19 times for 151 yards. And then here's the big one, Chichi or whatever his name is, 38 carries, 460 yards, 12.1 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns, 115 yards per game, 9 receptions, 67 yards. So with him coming back, it's going to be interesting. What the Raiders are going to be in for. It could be a long day. Because I think he's been out for a couple of games. I don't know, 2 or 3 or something like that with an injury. or he's on injured reserve. So what is that, 4 weeks? So he's just coming back this week from it. Paul says, all right, brother, got to get working on the play sheet for tonight's playoff game at 6 p.m. Atomic drop tonight, Sixers postgame, 10:20 versus Hawks. Awesome show, as always. Finns 37, Raiders 17. Paul's going with the blowout. So good luck on your playoff game tonight. Get that win and head to the championship. But yeah, so tonight, the Atomic Drop podcast, 11 p.m., talking WWE wrestling. That's with myself and Cowboy Dave Yarnell. But before that, Sixers postgame around 10:20. So the Atomic Drop will be on after that. So close to 11 o'clock. Basically, if Paul's off before 11, we'll be going on at 11. So, all right. Devontae Adams, 57 catches, 659 yards, 98 targets, 3 touchdowns, 11.6 per catch, and a 65.9 yards per game. Jacoby Myers, 42 catches, 463 yards, 64 targets, 5 touchdowns, 11 catches per game, or 11 yards per catch, 51.4 yards per game. Our tight end, Michael Mayer, 16 catches, 178 yards, 24 targets, 1 touchdown, 11 yards per catch. Sorry about that. And 17.8 yards per game. I'm going to pull up Miami here real quick. So yes, we all know what Miami's, what their weapons are, wide receiver wise, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. It's going to be they're a lot of fun to watch. I'm glad Tyreek's not in Kansas City anymore, so I don't have to see him twice a season. But even seeing him once a season is going to be a nightmare. So looking at Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So Tyreek Hill, 69 catches, 97 targets, 1,076 yards already, 8 touchdowns. Jalen Waddle, 40 catches, 59 targets, 522 yards receiving. That's a couple less games. 1 less game, 3 touchdowns. Berrios, a wide receiver, 20 catches, 25 targets, 194 yards, a touchdown. So Smith, their tight end, 17 catches, 168 yards. So you look at it, basically Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle's your show right there. But that running game is going to be nasty. Yeah, that's the rough part there. That running game is going to be nasty. Foster covers, saying Jimmy G missed an open Jacoby 4 times in Detroit. Needed 5 more points by Myers to stay in my guillotine league. That sucks. Man, that sucks so bad. He missed so many. Jimmy G missed so many open receivers this year, or underthrew them so bad, so poorly, so badly. It's just, and I say it on this show time and time again, but he's a winner. He's a winner. Winner, my asshole. Looking defensively, Robert Spillane, 81 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 3 interceptions. Max Crosby, 59 tackles, 9.5 sacks. Malcolm Kuntz, 2 sacks. Butler, 2 sacks. Merrig, 2 sacks, 2 interceptions. Robertson, 1 sack, 2 interceptions. I don't know if Robertson's going to play yet or not after being concussed. I listened to a Raiders podcast last night and this morning. I guess he was limited in practice, so I guess that's a step in the right direction. But I don't know if he's released from concussion protocol yet. The same thing with Jacorian Bennett. We'll see what his status is going to be. Probably won't know until Sunday. And Colton Miller as well. If he's going to be able to play. Greg Van Routen, he's also on the injured list. Expect him to play, though. He's been on the injured list for a few weeks now. I think Thayer Mumford also. found his way on the injured list. So a lot of pretty big injuries for the Raiders right now. Guys on the injured list, but we'll see what happens. Saturday and Sunday with the list being updated. David Long Jr. for the Miami, 63 tackles, 1 sack. Bradley Chubb, we all know Bradley the Chubb, big name there, 6 sacks. Christian Wilkins, 4.5 sacks. Jalen Phillips, 3.5 sacks. Jalen Ramsey, he's in the mix now with the Dolphins with an interception. I think he just started playing 2 weeks ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago. So that's the tail of the tape there with player-wise, stat-wise. Foster says, not sure who's got it worse, Raiders or Bears, Raiders in Miami or Bears in Detroit. Man. Yeah, I don't know. Both can go really poorly or both can, be surprising. I don't know. I think I don't know because Miami's coming off a bye, so I want to say the Raiders, but the Bears has been really bad this season. Even though they beat the Raiders, they both have it really bad. It's going to be it could be ugly for both. The one thing is with it being an interdivision game, that could be something there. Eileen says Bears in Detroit, they have it worse. Yeah, don't be surprised if Detroit puts up a 40 spot or even, to that point, Miami. Who knows? So looking at team stat rankings, Miami ranked first in the league in points per game at 31.7. The Raiders 27th at 17.2. That ain't good. Foster says, thanks, Eileen, for trashing his Bears. Come on, Eileen. What's wrong with you? Poor Bears. He says sarcasm. So I got to say it sarcastically. Thanks, Eileen. Like Eileen said, it's going to be bad for either team. But, interdivision game, it might be worse for the Bears. I don't know. For the rush, Miami ranked second in the league in rushing, 147.9 yards. Raiders 30th in rushing, 83.3. Pass, Miami's ranked first in the league, 287.4 yards. The Raiders are at 23rd, 192.1. Yards per game, Miami's ranked first, 435.3 yards per game. The Raiders 31st, 275.4 per game. So defensively, Miami's 12th in opponent's yards per game, 322. The Raiders are 18th, 334. Opponents' points per game, Miami's 26th, giving up a lot of points. 25 points per game. The Raiders are 13th with 20.5 yard points per game. Pass defense, Miami's 13th, giving up 216.2 yards per game. Now, when you're scoring a lot of points, the other team's trying to score with you, so you'd expect their passing numbers to be a little bit higher. The Raiders are 8th in pass defense, 198.7. Rush defense, Dolphins 13th, 106.2, and the Raiders 29th, 135.6. So when the other team's passing more on you, they're running less. So your run numbers, your run defense should be a little bit better. Foster said both could be in for a long day. Absolutely. Eileen says, I'm a Jets fan, so everyone trashes my team. Not everyone. I like the Jets, Eileen. I want to see the Jets do well. I had high hopes for the Jets this season, especially with Aaron Rodgers. I was excited for the Jets. My uncle is a season ticket holder. He goes up to MetLife Stadium, every home game. He said he's going to continue to be a season ticket holder. He said, so next time the Raiders are there, I'll be going up with them. My brother, Jets fan, his whole life, pretty much. My mom was a Jets fan for as long as I can remember. I like to see the Jets do well. I want to root for the Jets, just not against the Raiders, and I want to see them do well. But that's just one of those teams that the fan base is so used to letdown that kind of rolls right off their back. Foster says, "Oh, Eileen, we all are having NFL blues." You're not joking there, brother. That's for real. Between the Raiders, the Bears, the Jets. Oh my! All three of our teams just. Last Raiders Super Bowl win was 84, I think 83, 84. The Bears 85. The Jets. Was it the 60s? So, Jets a little bit more, but we're all struggling. I hope all franchises are better soon. I love the Jets defense. Yeah, and that's the bummer part of it because the Jets defense is so good that you hate to waste it. And I remember, I loved watching the Rex Ryan teams play, but their offense was always so janky. They could put up 20 points a game, but there's some games where they couldn't get out of their own way. They didn't have to put up a lot of points because that defense was so good. You have to figure in the playoffs, if they had a little bit better of an offense, maybe they would have made it to a Super Bowl. And but it is what it is. I guess it's that defense was nasty. Those defenses back then, Rex. I loved Rex Ryan as a coach. I was always hoping that Rob Ryan would become the Raiders coach and he'd be kind of like almost like a Rex Ryan, but. I think Rob Ryan was actually our interim coach once. I could be wrong. Foster says Chicago fans were pitching last week because we won by only 3. Can't satisfy everybody. Jets D is playoff ready. Absolutely, 100%. And they just got to make it there. To be honest with you, if they can make it there, then if they have some sort of offense, you like their chances to pull off an upset or two. All right, so I'm going to give my prediction for this game before I move on to a little bit of hockey talk. So I pull out my trusty dusty old notebook where I had all the scores written down at the beginning of the season. Everything's changed, but we'll see what the old book says. So this one I had the Raiders winning 34-30. So I'm not going to go with that one, even though that's what I thought it was beginning of the season. So I think Miami's going to win. I have it 30-17. But I think going into the fourth quarter, you're looking at like a 23-14, 23-10 type of game. The Raiders are within striking distance. Maybe they pull it in within 23-17. And then the Dolphins, put it out of reach. So 30-17, I'm going Dolphins. But I think it's going to be closer than that. Foster says, we had a Division II undrafted free agent starting quarterback. It's happening like twice in 50 years. And he lost the championship in the Division II championship to a bunch of auto mechanics or something. I don't remember what it was, but when I did that preview for the Raiders Bears game, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy lost the Division II championship to so I don't remember what the name of the school was. There's nothing I ever heard of, and I'm like, yeah, he's gonna beat us. He'll go out there and he'll look like a superstar, and he did. So, all right, so moving on to some hockey talk here. Real quick. Again, I'm huge LA Kings fan. I love the LA Kings. Still kind of new to hockey again. I used to watch hockey a lot as a teenager. Became a Kings fan. I think it was probably like 93, 94, somewhere around there. Kind of stopped watching, throughout the 2000s and 2010s. I started watching again 2 years ago and just fell back in love with it. But I'm still kind of wet behind the ears, as my dad used to say when I was a kid, or my grandfather used to say it as well. A little wet behind the ears with hockey talk. Still learning a lot of the the verbiage, and I don't know all the like. I used to when I used to watch it when I was a teenager. I used to be able to name all these different players on different teams, and I'm like, I don't know who the hell who is, but I know a little bit about the Kings, so I'll talk about them. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and do a sponsor reads. Do our sponsor reads. I'm glad I said sponsor because I forgot all about it here. Hang on. The Monkey Cold Coffee player of the game against the Jets. We had Robert Spillane is our Monkey Cold Coffee player of the game. 7 tackles, 4 solo tackles, interception, sack. He was also the AFC player of the game. He was also named the Raiders player of the game. He got the first parking spot in the closest parking spot to the building in the parking lot. Used to be John Gruden's spot. Now they put a little nameplate there, Raiders player of the game. They put their name, Robert Spillane. So that's pretty cool. And so he's our Monkey Cold Coffee player of the game. Go over to monkeycoldcoffee.com and get all your coffee there. I'll go ahead and do the sponsor read for Monkey Cold Coffee. I'll do that first. To keep in with the theme here. If I find it, there it is. So head on over to monkeycoldcoffee.com. Get all your coffee needs there. They got the bourbon chocolate chip infused coffee, toasted coconut rum, fantastic. I love the toasted coconut rum. Sumatran medium roast blend. You can get that ground or whole bean. Very good coffee there. If you like the non-flavored coffee, like my daddy, he calls it the fancy coffee. So I ain't drinking any of that fancy shit. He says it in a tough guy voice. So you got so you have a cranky dad like that. Comes over to your house during the holidays. Say, Dad, I got Sumatran blend. It's medium roast coffee for men. Puts hair on the chest. He'll say, all right, give me some of that. So we got that. And we also have the newest blend, the organic blend, Perula, Florida. That's part of their global gourmet collection. I haven't tried that yet, and I do believe they're working on a couple new flavors as well. Due out later this month or early next month, I believe. So once you get your coffee in your checkout box, head on over to the swag shop, get yourself a T-shirt, coffee mug, tumbler, cold brew pitcher. If you want to make cold brew at home, cold brew coffee. I like cold brew coffee, especially in the summer. K-cup adapters for all you K-cuppers out there. And don't forget your Paradise Rum cake. Very good cake. Nice and moist. Not too strong of a rum taste to it, but very good. So at checkout, use the promo code OOTB Sports for 10% off your order. That promo code, once again, is OOTB Sports for 10% off your order at monkeycoldcoffee.com. And our other sponsor here is Big Al. Jason Fine, J Fine Law. You can reach Big Al. I'm all backwards. Usually I do Jason Fine first and I do Monkey Cold Coffee. Now I'm all flipped and backwards. I'm messed up. You can reach Big Al at 1-800-HURT123. That's 1-800-HURT123. Jason Fine specializes in motor vehicle accidents, slip and falls, workman's comp, and personal injury claims. They have 3 office locations conveniently located throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. The office in New Jersey is located at Cherry Hill, New Jersey, 3 Greensward Lane. The phone number there is 856-209-5258. Then they have an office in the Steel City of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The address there is 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900. The phone number there is 412-365-8151. Then in the city of Brotherly Love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the office is located at 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. The phone number there is 267-888-2980. That's Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. All right, I'm back. Got a comment here. I'm going to read the comment before I hit the Kings up. Foster said, Kings, of course, I'm a Blackhawks since 77. I wouldn't expect anything different. You'll being a Bears fan, then you'll be a Blackhawks fan. Do you live in near Chicago or in Chicago? So when I was a teenager, when I was a kid, 12, 13, 14, when I started watching hockey, we used to play street hockey, meet a bunch of friends. And my favorite player at the time was Kelly Rudy was the Kings goalie. And of course, Wayne Gretzky and Yari Curry, Luke Robitaille, Rob Blake, and all them, all those guys, Marty McSorley. But my the one guy who used to play with us, he was a Blackhawks fan. So he always, I'm Jeremy Roenick. I'm Jeremy Roenick. I'm Chris Chelios. So Ed Belfour, the Hawk, Eddie the Hawk Belfour. Those are all Chicago had some great teams there. The Detroit Red Wings, they had some awesome teams back then too with Steve Yzerman, Sergei Fedorov, all the Russians they had on that team. I can't think of all of them right off the top of my head there. But they had, and the goalies, who the hell did they have in goal? I can picture his helmet because he had the round helmet with the cage on it. I can't remember his name. They had two really good goalies. And then the coach, I can't remember his name either. I just heard his name last night when I was listening to a Kings podcast. But anyway, excuse me. So looking back in the last couple games for the Kings, losing 4-2 to the Flyers. Tough loss there. So rewinding before that, they lost 4-3 to the Penguins at home. But before that, they beat the Flyers. They shut the Flyers out in Philly 5-0. So with that being in Philly, I remember watching some of the game, and I thought the Flyers played much better than the 5-0 score. Now 5-0 is 5-0. There's no ands or buts about it. You got your butt kicked. There's no way around it. But I thought the Flyers didn't look terrible. They didn't look 5-0 like a 5-0 loser. So when I seen the Kings lose to the Flyers 4-2, I wasn't overly surprised. Flyers playing a little bit better hockey, and they're able to catch the Kings on a back-to-back. They just went to overtime and lost to the Penguins. And then, the next night they had to play the Flyers at home, and the Kings, we all know their struggles at home. I think going into that Flyers game, or was into the Flyers game, they were 1-3-3 at home, or 1-3-4, or something like that. But only one home win, and that's against the Arizona Coyotes, or Coyotes, depending on where you're from. But so we all know their home struggles. But I wasn't overly surprised by the Flyers win. They outworked the Kings. The Kings were, they looked tired. They looked a little bit slower than what the Flyers. Flyers were, the aggressor of the teams. Cal Peterson. It's almost been a year since his last NHL win. Pretty close, and that's with the Kings. He was also the goalie that was goaltending when the Kings went out there and beat the Philly 5-0. That was his first start as the Philly goalie. So he got to start again there in LA. Stopped at 30? Let me see, 35 saves. Sean Walker, former King, he had 2 assists in that game. So a couple Kings who were basically salary cap hits. Maybe not so much Cal Peterson, but Sean Walker, definitely salary cap hits to kind of make room for the eventual signing of Pierre-Luc Dubois or PL Dubois, whatever the hell he wants to be called, or whatever. So I mean, that's part of business. That is what it is. In that game, Grundstrom was able to score again, another fourth line goal, and Adrian Kempe, keeping his hot streak going. Cam Talbot, 22 saves in that game, gave up 4 goals. And he was playing well before that. And they gave him, I think, 1 or 2 games off. They let Phoenix Copley get in there and play a little bit. I don't understand what's going on with Phoenix Copley. He was the goalie for that 4-3 loss against Pittsburgh. But, it's not the same Phoenix Copley as last season. I don't know if it's just because they have, teams have video on him now. They know his weaknesses. They know his weak points or something. I don't know what it is, but he's definitely not the same Phoenix Copley as last season, 100%. Hopefully he finds that against. I like Phoenix Copley. I like his story. I talked a lot about it last season, and but if he doesn't figure it out, I don't know how much time they give him, but if he doesn't figure it out soon, I could see them, sending him down to Ontario and bringing somebody else up. So, so moving on to last night's game, 2-1 win against the Panthers. The Panthers are coming in hot. They're 8-1-1 in their last 10. So they're playing really good. Fiala with the goal and assist. He had a really good game. I guess the biggest knock that from what I've been hearing through the Kings podcast and listening to the games on the radio is that the big knock on Fiala is great scorer, great offensive player, but makes dumb mistakes, being overly aggressive or dumb penalties or something. He ends up finding himself in a box at inopportune times. Something I guess they said that he's never really going to clean up, but it's just part of his game, which is unfortunate because he can be like an elite player. One of those guys, like Kempe scoring 40 goals a game or 40 goals a season, 40, 50, maybe 100-point scorer. I don't know about that, but he does have that potential. Anze Kopitar, he had a power play goal. Fiala was with the assist. Drew Doughty with the assist. The Fiala goal was assisted by Philippe Deneau and Trevor Moore. Trevor Moore still playing really well. Cam Talbot, 30 saves in that game. The goal he gave up actually came in the third. He played fantastic. That was the Panthers' lowest offensive output. The fewest goals they had scored the whole season since the first game of the season where they were shut out. Jarrett Anderson-Dolan was actually inserted into the lineup. They sat LaFerriere. I don't know if they're going to send LaFerriere down to Ontario or what, but that's where Anderson-Dolan was down there a bit, playing some games down there, keeping himself ready for the call-up. I'm not sure how that works because I know it's different than minor league baseball. I think you just can't call a guy up. You have to purchase the contract and all that stuff. So I'm not 100% how all that stuff works. They also jumbled the lines a little bit. So before it was Pierre-Luc Dubois and Kevin Fiala were on the same line. With I think with Philippe Deneau. Yeah, I think it was Fiala, Deneau, and P.L. Dubois. But now it's they kept Fiala on the second line with Deneau and Trevor Moore, and they moved P.L. Dubois to the third line with Jared Anderson-Dolan and Arthur Kaliev. So I really like Arthur Kaliev. All last season I called Alexei Kaliev for some reason. His name's Arthur, so I'm getting there. I'm creeping up on it. But I really do like Arthur Kaliev. I like everything he brings to the table offensively. Our first line is it's still Quinton Byfield, Anze Kopitar, and Adrian Kempe. I don't see that changing at all. Byfield's producing, not goal wise, but assist. So he's getting there. I'm telling you, I still feel like Byfield's going to have a breakout season this year. Something's going to turn for him, and he's just going to start scoring goals in bunches. One of the things I heard about him on the Kings podcast was that when he was down in Ontario, down in the minors, that it took him a couple seasons, like 2 seasons to really click, to get it, to get up to speed, catch up with everybody else. Because he was young, 18 years old. And now, coming into, he was hurt last year for a portion of the season. So this year is just the year he gets his legs under him. I think he's 20. I think he's going to be 20 or 21. So is this the year he kind of gets his legs under him a little bit and, starts putting the biscuit in the basket there. Our second line, like I said, Fiala, Philippe Deneau, and Trevor Moore. Trevor Moore having an outstanding season so far. Fiala, he'll start scoring goals. He's at 3 goals now. A whole pile of assists, I think 13 or 14 assists. Jared Anderson-Dolan, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Arthur Kaliev is your number 3. And then 4 line, like I said, has been playing awesome. Grunstrom, Blake Lizotte, and Trevor Lewis. And all 4 lines have been getting pretty much equal playing time. So that's outstanding. To have that kind of balance, that kind of faith in your bottom lines, that's huge. That's absolutely huge. Looking at the standings right now, in the Pacific Division, you have the Golden Knights sitting up top yet, 13-3-1, 27 points. You have the Vancouver Canucks, 12-4-1 with 25 points. The Kings are 9-3-3, 21 points. And the Anaheim Ducks, 9-7 with 18 points. The Western Conference, the Golden Knights sitting up top, 27 points. Vancouver, 25 points. The Dallas Stars, 11-3-1, 23 points. And you have the Kings at 21. Colorado, 10-5 with 20 points. Winnipeg Jets, who have a couple ex-Kings there from last season, Al Iafallo and Rasmus Kupari. They're at 8-5-2 with 18 points. Anaheim's 18 points. And Arizona, 8-6-2 with 18 points. So early season yet, still a ton of hockey to go, but I'll be continuing doing the updating with the standings, much like I did last season. So I think if the Kings can figure out their backup goalie situation and continue to find balance throughout all four lines, I think we're going to be in good shape throughout the whole season. Now there's going to be injuries that come along. There's going to be slumps that come along, switches and changes and stuff like that. Like last night, Dubois actually went down with an injury. I don't know the severity of it. I guess it was a leg injury. I think he won. For listening to it on a broadcast, again, I didn't see the game, but listening to it on the radio, it was going in for a scoring chance. I guess he lost an edge, as they say in the hockey world. Lost an edge and went down, and I guess his legs hit the post, and they said it looked like he might have hyperextended a leg. So, once that happens, everything's a little bit loose. It usually takes a couple days, swelling and all that stuff. So he might be a day-to-day. Hopefully that the worst of it is day-to-day. Hopefully it's nothing serious like a break or a tear or anything like that. Or, then again, it could be like they said on the broadcast, it could be a Charlie horse. Who knows? Who the hell knows? They're hockey players, right? They're supposed to be out. They get 50 stitches in their face. And they're back out there, 3 minutes later, they get a Charlie horse and they can't come back to the game. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of injury that is for him. So that's all I have for now. Let me go ahead and bring up the Kings schedule here real quick. For the next couple days, next couple games. They play tonight against the Blues, or tomorrow night. Tomorrow night against the Blues, last game of the homestand. They headed back out onto the road to Arizona again on the 20th, and then the Ducks on the 24th, and that's when I'll be back on again, I believe, the 24th. Yeah. They'll be in Anaheim to play the Ducks. So we'll see where we're at then in a week. They have 3 games going on here. Thanksgiving, my favorite time of the year is Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving holiday. So a little bit of hockey there, a couple days off. Good stuff. All right, that's all I have for today. Yeah, that's all I have for today. Thanks for checking the show out. Although, let me do the show reads here real quick. Clicking back and forth. I got to let's see if it's on here or not. I do not see it. So I'll tell you when I'm on. All right. So I'm on tonight, like I said earlier, 11 p.m., Atomic Drop Podcast, talking WWE Wrestling. Before me, you'll have the Sixers post-game. I think Sixers and Hawks had said. That'll be about 10:20 or so. So we'll be following the Sixers post-game. I believe 11 a.m. on Saturday, you'll have the Golden Dome podcast, talking Notre Dame Fighting Irish. You'll have the post-game. I think they play Wake Forest. I could be wrong. So you have the post-game to that on Saturday. Sunday, 11 a.m., you'll have the Big Blue Power Hour, talking New York Giants football. And I'm not sure about the times for Cowboys, if there's a pregame, postgame. So you'll have to stay tuned for that. All right. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for checking the show out. I greatly appreciate it. A ton of comments, a lot of interaction. I love the interaction. talking about different teams, talking about Bears, Eagles, Cowboys, whatever, Jets, a lot of Jets talk also. I love it. Doesn't matter. This is a Raiders and Kings show, but we'll talk about anything. Anything, baseball, music, movies, doesn't matter. Anything you want to bring up, as long as it's not going to get me banned on the Facebook or anything like that, then we'll talk about it. All right, so thanks for checking the show out. Be sure to check me out tonight with Cowboy Dave. And next Wednesday, I'll be on with the Bat Cave talking New York Mets baseball and amongst other things. That show I get off topic a little bit as well. I got one more comment here before I head out. Frank Foster says, "Thanks, man. Have a great day and stay safe. You too, buddy. Go Cubs." You are a Chicago guy. You have to live. You probably live in Chicago. You have to. You're probably a Bulls guy too, then, if you follow basketball or not. The Cubs are trying to get Pete Alonso. I'll talk about that Wednesday on the Bat Cave. Check me out Wednesday, 10 a.m. Foster, the Bat Cave here on Out of the Box Sports Center and Entertainment. Lots of fun there. We'll talk about all sorts of crazy stuff. But I know the Cubs are, according to my Google News, is telling me that the Cubs are putting together a package for Mets slugger. That has to be Pete Alonso. All right. So check me out Wednesday, 10 a.m., the Bat Cave, and then next Friday again back here for the Silver and Black Lair, and we'll have a good time talking Thanksgiving food and all that stuff. All Chicago teams, yep. And you do live in Chicago. Ohtani's he's the big one. He's the coveted guy. Everybody wants Ohtani. Absolutely. Can't blame him. MVP. Once his elbow's fixed, hopefully he's back to pitching the way he was before. All right. So maybe I'll see you Wednesday then. Thanks for checking the show out. Make sure you subscribe, like, follow, subscribe. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. There we go. Atta boy. He's subbed. He's subscribed. He's in. You get notifications for all of our shows. We got a ton of shows and, talk about whatever you want. Like I said, it's anything goes. It's all out of the box. That's why we are who we are. All right. So that's all I have. Just win, baby, and go Kings go.